Good afternoon, everyone. It's fantastic to have you here this afternoon. Great to have you with us. My name is Marcus Harvey. I'm really keen to share with you the experience I've gained over the past 4 years by working with organisations to help them get ready for the NDIS. This introductory webinar will give you an overview of the key elements of National Disability Services IT Planning and System Selection project. And this project has been specifically designed to help organisations prepare for and to thrive in an NDIS environment. My email address you'll see down the bottom there is mharvey@infoexchange.org. You're more than welcome to contact me afterwards if you have any questions. And I work for InfoExchange. We're an IT services provider that is a non-profit, and we specialise and only work with other non-profits. So without further ado, we'll jump straight into it. If you do have questions throughout the webinar, please list your questions in the chat, just type them in. I will stop if there's a few questions halfway through or so to answer any questions that you might have. I will also stop at the end, and there'll be additional time and the ability to ask more questions. Thank you. Today we're going to cover the NDIS and implications for your information technology environment, because the system selection and IT planning project is specifically targeted on helping disability services organisations get ready for the NDIS environment from an IT perspective. It'll also talk through how the system selection project can help you with your IT and your IT planning, and give you an overview of the key dates, what to expect in the project, and information on how you can participate. The NDIS really provides some opportunities and some challenges for organisations. The really good piece of news for people with a disability and for organisations that provide disability services is that with the NDIS, a significant amount of new funding is available to support people with a disability. And this means that new people will be looking for organisations to help them with services that can make their lives easier and more enjoyable. It also means that some people may be able to afford services they couldn't previously. That's great news for people with a disability, especially as services are individualised and tailored to their specific needs. But the real challenge that we often get asked about and help organisations with is that it can be a whole lot more difficult to provide individualised services where payment is in arrears than it is to provide group-based services where block funding is provided in advance. Particularly given the pricing levels that can place new pressure on organisations to make sure that they're sustainable both today and into the future. To really thrive, you need low overheads and also to keep your staff utilisation high so that you can make sure that you're providing great services to people with a disability, but also make sure that your operations are sustainable now and into the future. And IT, or information technology, can assist with those challenges. From the perspective of attracting new clients, we see organisations spend a lot more time thinking about their website, how their website can tell the story about the types of services they offer, and also how they can attract new clients through social media, through online newsletters becomes more important, as well as a mechanism for keeping information about the needs of potential clients so that the history of conversations and types of services that clients who might be, or potential clients who might be interested in your services, are recorded and kept in a central spot and accessible at any time, so that when they call, they understand that there's history there and an understanding of previous conversations. The second significant area that technology is able to assist with is providing individualised services that are valued by people with a disability. And this is where many organisations really look to find client or case management systems so that staff have easy access to client details, care plans, history of services, notes of what's important wherever they are, whether it be in the office, out on the road, at a client site, or providing them services out and about. And those individualised services and the care plans and care and service history that's provided through those client and case management systems really is critical to helping disability service providers thrive in this environment. The third area that technology can really make a big difference is that sustainable operations. What we found is that for many organisations, working with paper and or Excel spreadsheets really isn't sustainable when they start to get beyond a very small number of clients. And efficiently providing funders with accurate service delivery information really ensures that you can have prompt payments, you're paid on time, you're paid for the services you provide, rather than have any questions about which client was and worry about rekeying information. It can also help you to minimise back-of-house costs and administration effort because you don't want to have to rekey information across multiple systems, and you want the ability to submit that data as efficiently as possible to the NDIA or to other funders, or to raise an invoice if you're also providing services that are paid for by either by people with a disability or by other funders other than NDIA, which some of a number of the providers we work with also need to be able to do. And that reliable, efficient systems and infrastructure becomes a whole lot more important within an NDIS environment. What we find is that where organisations have been able to get by when systems might not be available in the past, once you start putting or relying on your IT systems for client details, for service history, for payment and invoicing, you really need to make sure that your systems are up to that and will stand the test of time and support you reliably. So what we've done is we've designed the ImproveIT4NDS program to help your organisation get ready for operating and thriving in an NDIS environment. You can see, there's, from the perspective of, once you have a business model and service delivery strategy so that you can operate effectively under the NDIS, that's when you need to start thinking about your technology. What you need that business model and service delivery strategy so that you know whether or not you're delivering specific services, potentially just attendant care or group work or other types of services, whether they're in people's homes, whether in your locations, whether they're out and about, and whether you intend to grow into the future or focus on a small number of services or provide a wide range of holistic services. That's the key starting point. Determine your business model, determine your service delivery strategy, what services are going to be provided to how many people, what's your staffing model to support that, and where are they going to need to access that sort of information, in the office, out and about, etc. Once you've got that, that's when you can start working on your IT plan and start working through how can IT best support you in that environment. And the ImproveIT4NDS project can really help you through that process. As you can see in the top sort of section on the left there in the red, the first step we recommend for organisations is to make an IT improvement plan. That includes thinking about your current situation, the services, your staff, your technology environment, assessing where you're strong, what bits work well, what you need to do to get ready for the NDIS, and making an IT plan to address those gaps. The reason why the IT plan is so important is because we find that there's always so much to do within an NDIS environment and to get ready that if you don't prioritise and you don't focus and make sure the resources are allocated, then organisations are much less likely to upgrade their IT and upskill their staff to get ready for efficient operations. ImproveIT can help with those steps. There's resources for collecting business requirements, and we've got the online self-assessment to assess your IT readiness, as well as a range of different resources for IT planning. Information about thinking about the cloud versus local infrastructure, information about social media and website improvements, a whole range of different resources to help you get ready. What we then suggest organisations do is that for each of those IT improvement actions, they then work through the core processes of gather the key requirements, understand what you need, select a key system, train staff, make sure they're comfortable, and repeat for each of the key systems that they need. Organisations may require one or more of systems such as new client and case management systems. Finance systems can often need to be looked at or updated. Timesheeting, rostering if you're a larger organisation. Your infrastructure can often need to be considered as to whether or not it's appropriate, and are there cheaper or more functional options to make sure your staff can work effectively. And they're the key areas that we really find organisations working through, in that think about what you need in a new system, select the system thinking about price and functionality to make sure you get what you need and staff can work where they need to, and then implement a system as you go. But as I said, that's the key things of client and case management, finance systems, your infrastructure and email environment, your timesheeting, your rostering. Number of organisations, if they're expecting more staff to put information in that client and case management systems, also need to think about, as part of that process, what are they going to give people new devices, whether those be PCs, tablets, phones, workstations, etc., and making sure they have the skills and are comfortable using them is one of the key things. Together, that really helps to make sure that you can attract those clients and make sure that people are aware of the services that you offer and how happy people are with your services. It can help to make sure that you can deliver those services as efficiently as possible and have them individualized so that your staff understand the care plans, understand what the requests have been, and also making sure that your invoices are easy to create, accurate, timely, and you're paid on time every time for the work that you provide. Now, the NDIS program has been designed for organisations with 50 or less direct care staff. That's sort of full-time equivalents. And I know that many organisations, or most organisations, have a large proportion of staff who are part-time, so it's 50 or less direct care staff. That's sort of full-time equivalent. So if everyone was half-time, that's about 100 actual staff. And as you can see on the slide in front of you, there's two key programs within the project. There's the IT planning program, where the aim of this element or this part of the project is to help you get an IT plan in place and make sure that you can you have that core framework of the key things you need to do and have the resources, whether that might be money or time, and skills allocated to be successful in that. The second key area of the program is the system selection program. So I'll talk through the IT planning quickly, just in terms of the first thing that you do is that once that you register, there's an online IT capability or NDIS readiness assessment. And that helps organisations to understand their current strengths and also where there might be some opportunities and where you need to think about potentially changing some of your IT environment. That online self-assessment generally takes around about 20 minutes to complete, and because we do look at a fair bit of detail in that, and it gives you that strengths and weaknesses, and that then feeds straight into the workshop that helps you develop an IT improvement plan. That workshop is, and I'll cover the workshops in a slide or two, because we've got them in each state and territory around Australia, is where we look at what are the key strengths and weaknesses for your organisation, and we work through a structured process to develop an IT plan. Throughout that process, there's also webinars and there's optional mentoring if you would like that, to assist you with that process. We're developing a whole range of resources and guidelines to help with the IT planning and the system selection project. The system selection following a very similar process where there's an online questionnaire to help understand what your requirements are and develop a matching process to identify some systems that might be appropriate to you. There's a system evaluation workshop, and there's the ability to engage with vendors to start to identify which systems might be right for you. And again, there's the optional system selection and implementation mentoring for those organisations that would like that additional assistance. And the system selection element of the program is provided by the virtual IT department, with InfoExchange providing the IT planning components. A little bit more detail on the IT planning process you can see on the slide in front of you. First of all, it's register for the IT planning workshop closest to you, and you'll see a link for that in a minute. Then it's complete that online self-assessment questionnaire that I was talking to you about on the previous slide. And you can attend as many or as few of those free webinars that are relevant to you and your organisations. And we cover topics such as technology implications of the NDIS, introduction to the cloud, enhancing your online presence, thinking about should you move your infrastructure to the cloud, or are you better with local infrastructure, all those sorts of things. The free resources are also available on ImproveIT. And they're available to help you prepare for the workshop and also to help with the implementation plan. The workshop is the key element in terms of the planning process, where we help you develop those key pieces of the IT improvement plan. And those workshops, while they're not free, they're priced on a cost recovery basis. So depending on the actual the venue, they're sort of generally priced at around about $60 to $100 per person, just covering lunch and a bit of venue hire. And each of the prices are shown on the website. The mentoring and support guidance to help you finalise and implement the improvement plan, that's available at additional cost. And if you're interested in that, what we find is that some organisations only require a little bit, others are keen to have extra, and so happy to talk to you about that at any stage as well. You can see on this slide 8, each of the IT planning workshops across Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, the Northern Territory, ACT, WA, Tassie and South Australia. Each of the workshop dates are now set, and we're really looking forward to the next workshop, next series of workshops that are coming up. Those workshops can be registered 4 following the link, the ImproveIT.org/NDIS. Dates for the system selection workshop will be announced early in February. And you can again register for them once they're announced through the ImproveIT website. The resources which I talked about earlier cover those key topics important to organisations preparing or improving their IT environment for the NDIS. So they cover topics such as additional resources for IT planning, technology governance, selecting a client information or case management system, and developing their staff technology skills, because we do find those staff technology skills are one of the key areas that people are always interested in. How can I really take that next step? As these resources and others are available, they'll also be made available on the ImproveIT website. So next steps: register for a planning workshop. They're in each state and territory, so we're really looking forward to seeing you at those workshops. There is an IT planning workshop introduction webinar. We've put the link there for those that are keen to watch that, and we do strongly recommend that prior to attending that first planning workshop, just to give you an overview of the process and more detail than what I've gone through today. If you want to participate in the system selection program stream, register for that as well. Keep an eye out in the NDIS newsletters as well as on the website. And Brian Kirk, who is the NDIS Transition Project Manager at National Disability Services, is always happy to answer any questions or queries you might have. So we do have a few questions, I notice. I will just work through those that have come through on the chat. First one is, will NDS tell me what system is best for me? Will NDS be recommending any system? Great question, and the answer to that is that the virtual IT department are the ones that are providing input and guidance on systems. And what they will do is work with you through the process we just spoke through to identify what systems might be appropriate to you and give you information to make sure those systems will be tailored to your needs. They won't generally be recommending just a single system, but they'll get that back down to a short list to you and give you the resources and the guidance to help you speak with the vendors and decide which system best suits your needs, thinking about what you need, your functionality, where your staff need to operate, as well as what the systems cost. So that's the answer to that one. The second question I got here is, I filled out the EOI for the news update. What happens now? So the EOI from the news update was used to design or to decide how many workshops and in which areas those workshops are going to be in. So if you filled out the EOI, fantastic. That's helped us to give you a workshop in your area. And now the key thing is register for the IT planning workshops and that side of the program. And if you're interested in the system selection, register for that as soon as that's available as well. What size of organisations are we targeting? There's another question. I did cover that a little bit earlier, but I think that person came a bit late. So it's organisations with 50 staff, full-time equivalent, that service delivery staff or less. By all means, if you have more than that number, feel free to attend. That's just who we've designed the program for. We've already had organisations with more than 200 service delivery staff attend the workshops back towards the end of 2015. And they reported it was very useful. So it's been designed for those organisations with less than 50 full-time equivalent service delivery staff, but it can well be more appropriate for larger organisations as well. Next question is, I've done an IT plan. Is the program of any use to me? And there's two answers to that. It can be helpful, and we've had organisations say it's been useful to help them update their IT plan, and so that program is quite useful to them. If you want to think about, are there other elements or does it need a refresh? The second thing is, if in your IT plan there is a system selection component to that plan, you definitely should register for the system selection workshop. And we've got another question here about what we do with the information that we gather. And so we do gather information through the self-assessment that helps organisations identify, their strengths and weaknesses. So we don't share that information with anyone. All the information is kept private and confidential. We do take some de-identified information from the perspective of overall averages of the sector so that we can share that with workshop participants and they can understand things like what's the average amount that disability services organisations spend on their technology and on average how satisfied are they. But the information in terms of your email address, your private details, that's not shared with anyone. Next question, I'm in outback or rural Northern Territory. How do I access the workshops? And you will be pleased to see, I'm sure, that there is a workshop in Darwin. So hopefully you can attend that. Otherwise, there's the range of online resources and you contact your, that you can utilise without travelling. And there's also the ability to make sure that, if there's a number of people, talk to your local NDIS representative. Last question by the look of it is, I understand there is pre-work for the workshops. What this entails is that self-assessment questionnaire. There's generally takes organisations sort of 15 to 20 minutes. And that asks questions about your IT environment and your priorities so that we can make the best possible use of your time in the actual workshop, because we've only got sort of 6 hours for that workshop. Hopefully that answers that question. If there's any other questions, I'll give you another 20 seconds or so to type them in. Otherwise, we might bring the webinar to a close. Really hope you attend the workshops and the system selection part of the program. It doesn't look like there's any other workshops or any other questions, sorry. So I will bring the webinar to a close. Thanks so much for all your time. Been fabulous having you here. Really look forward to seeing as many as possible of you in the workshops and look forward to helping you on your journey towards having a great technology environment to thrive under the NDIS. Thank you.